What's going on, YouTube? This is the Boxing Theorist, and I'm here to talk about the super middleweight bout for the WBC interim belt between David Lemieux and David Benavidez. And to get right into it, David Benavidez is currently 25-0 with 22 knockouts. David Benavidez stands at 6'1.5" with a 74-inch reach, and is currently 25 years old. All right. Whereas David Lemieux is 43-4 with 36 knockouts, 2 losses by way of knockout, and the other 2 losses for David Lemieux coming by way of a decision. And David Lemieux is standing at 5'9.5" with a 70-inch reach, and is currently 33 years of age. All right. And to get right into the breakdown of what I think about each fighter, we're going to start with David Benavidez. David Benavidez is a great fighter. I think he's a phenomenal talent. He's a top 3 super middleweight. All right. I think his most notable win was against Anthony Durrell. All right. Everybody else were, pretty much food for David Benavidez. But when he fought Anthony Durrell, he showed, what he's capable of doing. And even though Anthony Durrell is much older and, out of his bag at this point in his career, it was still a good name for him to have on his resume up to this point. And this is even a good step-up challenge for David Benavidez, fighting a seasoned veteran in David Lemieux. David Lemieux is not a bad fighter at all. He's actually a good fighter. And David Lemieux has hella experience. The high level of experience goes in favor of David Lemieux in this fight. But I don't believe that would be good enough to get the job done against David Benavidez, if you ask me. All right. And David Benavidez is coming off of a 6-month layoff, which is not too bad. David Lemieux is coming off of an 11-month layoff, okay? And I think that the ring rust will set in fighting a young hungry lion in David Benavidez, And as far as like strength and weaknesses of David Benavidez himself to start off, I'll say this. David Benavidez is a phenomenal pressure fighter who fights behind his jab and who loves to string together combinations. And he has a high motor. The man has phenomenal stamina and endurance, okay? Feet are not as fast, but for the style that he has, they're good enough to get the job done. And he has a high ring IQ. He could cut the ring off. He doesn't really move his head as well. He's susceptible to getting hit with a lot of shots. But, he has a great chin to, fix the issue of him being capable of being a punching bag, okay? Whereas David Lemieux is a good pressure fighter himself. That's really his strength, okay? He can fight off of his back foot, but I think that he's better coming forward, just like David Benavidez. And David Lemieux has power. He's had about 3 fights at super middleweight where he knocked out 2 out of the 3 of his opponents at super middleweight. So we know that his power is capable of translating to the super middleweight division against a guy like David Benavidez. And as far as like his strengths and weaknesses, David Lemieux, he has a good jab, but in my opinion, based off of the tape that I've watched on David Lemieux, I think that he could jab a little more. I got the impression that he doesn't really initiate a lot of exchanges. Based off of the tape that I've gathered from watching him, I noticed that he will tend to wait for his opponent to throw their combinations first, and then he'll try to either capitalize after they're finished with their combination, or he'll try to, he can time you in between your combinations, all right? Being the opponent, his tendencies are looking to try to capitalize in between the shots of his opponent. So I think that that's where David Lemieux's strengths lie. as far as his weaknesses, I think that, he has a lot of loopholes in his defense, and he tends to get hit with a lot of hard, clean shots, and he doesn't really move his head as well either. He'll move his body from time to time, but for the most part, he'll stand right there in front of you, just like David Benavidez, and will take a lot of punishment on the inside, which he has a good chin, but against Golovkin, he was taking a lot of hard, clean shots from him, and you really can't afford to take shots like that from a guy like Golovkin. And he ended up getting dropped by Golovkin in the later rounds, which he, was able to withstand, staying durable up until the point where he got dropped and he eventually got knocked out. Against Billy Joe Saunders, he got outboxed for the entire fight and lost by unanimous decision. David Lemieux's most notable win was against Gabriel Rosado, where he was having that was his fight from start to finish. David Lemieux was controlling the entire fight against Gabriel Rosado and was able to TKO him. So that was his most notable win, but he lost his other two biggest fights against Billy Joe and Golovkin, as I've just explained. All right. And his other two losses were against guys that I'm not familiar with, who was, and forgive me if I mispronounce his name, Joaquin Alcine, if that's how you pronounce that, and also Marco Rubio. So those were his 4 losses. And as far as what I think, who I think will win, I'll say this, that I believe that the pressure, the high volume pressure from David Benavidez, David Benavidez is going to get the best of David Lemieux, and I believe that if the fight is on the inside, which I can see that being a thing in this fight, I believe that this is going to be Benavidez's fight, considering he's a naturally bigger guy, and also considering that he's the better combination puncher. David Benavidez, he's good at initiating the attack. He's good at, he's willing to take some shots to give a few of his own with that durable chin of his, and he's capable of finishing the attack, within the exchanges of his opponents. So I have Benavidez winning this fight. I don't think that Lemieux, considering his age and the fact that, David Benavidez is the younger, fresher fighter, I think that that's going to end up being way too much for David Lemieux, and he's eventually going to get stopped. I can see this fight being a stop, and I'm actually going to put my money on a stoppage. So that's all I have to say for this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and comment below what you guys think. I would like to know. Until next time, peace.